Today I will finally replace this old and rotten garden gate. This gate is a clear case of perfect being the enemy of good. After thinking for years about the perfect solution, I now decided to no longer postpone this project and over a weekend replace the gate with what I have at hand. I did not have any wood that would be wide enough for a stable frame. So I joined some pressure treated pine on one side for gluing two pieces together. The two boards are glued together with waterproof wood glue. For the frame I need 3 glue ups of 2 meters length each. After the glue has dried, I can run them over the jointer and plane them to a consistent width and thickness. The dimensions of the frame are copied one-on-one from the existing gate. Having a diagonal bracing in the frame is pivotal so that the entire weight of the gate is transferred to the lower half of the post. I first clamp the frame together without any glue and then mark at both ends of the diagonal brace a line parallel to the vertical beam, inset about 2 centimeters. The diagonal piece is cut to shape on the bandsaw. The outline is then transferred on the frame and the notches are cut on the bandsaw as well. I will use homemade dominoes for the assembly of the frame. These homemade dominoes are really tight and usually fit just well in the hole if they are compressed with a hammer. As you can see in this sequence, at one side of the frame the domino holes were a bit too close to the outside of the frame and the wood started to split. A bit of epoxy and sawdust will fix this mistake easily. The same measure is applied to cracks in the wood that have not been caused by my mistakes but by the drying process of the manufacturer. Talking about mistakes, the frame was a bit warped when I marked the notches for the diagonal bracing, which results in an ugly gap. While this hurts my ego, it will not impact the functionality and the gap can be filled with a small wooden offcut. In the spirit of reusing what I have, I will use the old lock and mount it to the new gate. This is a massively overcomplicated thing as I only need the latch and not the lock, but this is what I have, which means that I need a large opening for the hardware. The domino creates a perfect starting point. Unfortunately, it cannot reach the full depth. I mark the depth with tape on a chisel, and as the bottom of the mortise is going to be rather thin, I support it with an additional piece of wood. After the main mortise is cut, I use a router and a chisel to create a shallow relief for the cover plate. To complete the frame, I take 3 measures that will hopefully improve the durability of the gate. The top of the frame gets a shallow angle with the plane so that water drains from the surface. All edges get a round over so that drips of water don't accumulate at the sharp edge. And lastly, everything is sanded smooth so that water can't easily penetrate the wooden surface. The rest of the wood will come from a leftover piece of fence from another project. I remove the nails and sand the fence pieces smooth. The frame and all the fence pieces get a coat of finish. The door lock is screwed to the frame. And before mounting the fence parts to the frame, I hold the frame with clamps in place and mark the position of the hinges. As the hinges are very worn, I will have to mount them on an angle so that the gate is level. This looks quite weird, but at least it's not visible from the outside. As one rusty part of the hinge was rubbing against another rusty part of the gate, it was quite difficult to move. I will increase the opening of a washer to fit in the hinge and glue it in place, hoping that this will reduce the friction at least a little bit. The finish on the fence parts has dried and they can be mounted to the frame. I use a small story stick to position the parts in the correct place and then fix them with a nail. For a more permanent solution, each piece is secured with 3 screws from the backside. After mounting the gate in its final place, I remove the knobs and the latch from the old gate. The knobs have quite some paint on them and I remove as much as possible with acetone. Now I can mount the old knobs and the old latch to the new gate. This is clearly not a project I would be the most proud of, and without the limitation of working with stuff at hand, I would have done quite a few things differently. However, at least from my point of view, the new gate is an improvement over the old and rotten one.